to start recording now. So let me do it first. Hi, everyone. This is Kendraya here, and this is my project on streaming. So first, we're going to talk to Drayce first. So introduce yourself, Drayce, and tell me what's your favorite platform, then what platform do you use the most?
What's going on? My name is Drayce Moore. My favorite streaming platform would probably be iTunes. That would probably be my favorite one. The one I use the most would probably be Netflix. Lately I've been using Netflix. It haven't always been like that, but I've been finding a lot of stuff I like on Netflix. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ramone, go ahead.
Hey, this is Ramone Worthington. My favorite streaming platform is YouTube, and I also use YouTube the most. So.
Okay. All right, Pierre.
All right, I'm Pierre Dorcely. My favorite is Hulu, but the one I use the most is YouTube.
Okay. So.
Based on Netflix. So.
All right. So I'm glad that you guys said that, but I must go first as far as what I'm gonna say, and I will say that I use Hulu the most as of right now, but my favorite is Disney Plus, and we'll get into Disney Plus a little later on. But as far as what streaming is and what platforms are, streaming platforms are anything that you can stream as far as television, movies, music, and now gaming, which I'm surprised none of y'all said. The reason why I chose some of y'all, especially Ramone and Pierre, is that I know you guys are heavy gamers. How has streaming impacted your gaming? And do you think that gaming streaming platforms has came about because of COVID, or has it always evolved?
You want to go first, or you want me to tackle that first?
All right. So as far as I'll go first. So as far as how it's impacted the gaming industry in general, has impacted me as a gamer.
Mm-hmm. How has it impacted you as a gamer? Because you know, they went from you buy a game at, I don't know, like at Radio Shack or something like that, to buying it on a platform like Xbox or PlayStation, and now you're streaming games. So how has that impacted you?
Okay, so I will definitely say that how it's impacted me, especially specifically if you're talking about the services that I use as my favorite, like YouTube, for example, because of the fact that as gamers, especially if you're looking into something that's like story-based or something where there might be some issues or tackles, you'll either go look up tutorials, you'll take a look and see maybe what is the next game reviews, things of that nature. And before I know this is definitely before your time, but not these two, like you had magazines like Nintendo Power magazines where you can get that kind of stuff. Or you would get it from GameStop, where if you bought if you had the subscription with GameStop, which I still have, they would send you in the mail magazines with game reviews, maybe some tutorials, what's getting ready to come, so on and so forth. The issue is that with that, just like how it was with like the night news versus cable, you're not able to get it in the here and now. You have to wait till after the fact. And especially with more people being busier, working longer hours, working different type of hours, where before it used to be like a 9 to 5, and then even a lot of businesses would shut down maybe like after 7, 8 o'clock. On Sundays, it would be closed. Now everything's open 7 days a week, 365. So depending on the work hours that you're working and what you're doing, you're not able to get it right there and then. So the convenience is the biggest key. And I would say that it wasn't specific. I don't think that it's specific to gaming, but when you see things like DVR, for example, when that first came out, you can go to work, you can have your favorite program. When you come back home, you can go ahead and watch it. However, what a lot of people have noticed, especially the execs have noticed, is that when you have things like DVR and such, people start skipping ads. So on purpose, even if they were home, they would go ahead and save it, so that way when they watched it, they can keep going ad-free or skip over ads and so on and so forth. So then other industries such as gaming, movies, you name it, has been entering into that market, and it's highly because of the convenience. That's why it has impacted me as a gamer, because now I have more access to the things that I personally look for in gaming, which is not predominantly downloading games to my to the Xbox or PlayStation, whatever, but it's more so if I want to get, like, if, for example, like there's a big event called E3. And so with E3, it comes on at a certain time, and it's typically going off of Pacific time. So when I was at work, about, like, I remember it was like 6-7 years ago, I remember watching E3 on my phone while I was at work, because it'd be on like around 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're working a certain type of business where you can't do that, you got to wait till after the fact. And it was one of those things where it was like a FOMO kind of thing, fear of missing out, where if you didn't catch it, you just missed it. Now you have access to it. So that's how that has impacted me as a gamer.
Right. So with Ramone, the reason why I asked you this question is because recently you did a 2K tournament and you were so excited about it. And I wonder, is that a streaming kind of system within 2K? Like, tell me more about that.
But it's not. It's just an added online feature that they have called. You can't even use it being connected to the internet. I guess you can say yes and no. And it's just added a whole other level of gameplay that we just. So now we have elements to where, all right, you don't just play basketball, or you go work on a fashion line, be a rapper. Like, just added so many other elements to the game via just being able to stream live on the internet. Period. How it affected me as a gamer is simply right. More just basically like what Pierre said. Now, if I got stuck on a game, I don't have to go buy a magazine. I can just jump on YouTube and like, hey, what's this? What's going on with this quest? And somebody has beat the game before you, and they've laid out a video on what's going on with this particular level. And on top of that, it wasn't in Pierre's thing, but my thing is now I literally did not have to stay in line. I can just go to the Xbox store and pay the same price I would pay at the store for the convenience of my own home. So streaming definitely has made the ease of use and quality of life a whole lot better for us gamers by a long shot. Because I mean, just like Pierre was saying, you said to wait on the magazine. We used to have to see if our homeboys was right now. Like, down, left, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Contra code.
You know what I'm saying? And even just the setup is easier now. You know what I'm saying? As long as you got Wi-Fi, and all you need is a power cable and an HDMI port. At first, we used to have a red, yellow, and white. Turn the channel to 3 or 4, whichever way you hit.
Right.
Well,
Hope
right.
the game don't week can't stop. You know, so it just made the quality of life, like gaming for us gamers, came a very long way. Like Pierre said, we don't miss events anymore. Why? Because somebody got it on YouTube.
Right. No, you guys are right. And Drayce, you talk a lot about movies, and you also listen to a lot of podcasts. And you mentioned that iTunes was your favorite streaming platform, and Netflix being your most used as of the moment. Tell me how streaming has impacted your life as far as you watching movies and listening to these podcasts.
It's not just a podcast, which I do really listen to a lot of podcasts. Actually, podcasts more than music, which is a shocker probably. iTunes to me changed the game. I'm gonna go more so music. It's where I can go to a platform and check out a new artist I might have seen on maybe YouTube, or if I just hear about an artist, I can go online, look up their whole catalog, and be able to go through albums in different times of where they were growing as an artist, and be able to listen to them. When I get nose most, I'll take an artist and I'll listen to them for, I don't know, a week or two. And I feel like By that time, I know all their whole catalog, and since their career started to up to date. As far as the podcast, I love to listen to podcasts on Apple, but also YouTube. I didn't say YouTube, but I do listen to a lot of boxing on YouTube. So it's like they said about the gaming, it's the same. It's just like I can get it right now. If I want to look up something, I can get it right now. I don't have to go all over the place looking for it. It's right there in one particular spot. It's so convenient. As they say, we are a popcorn society, if you know what that means. That meaning like from back in the day, and I don't mean to venture off, but just I'm gonna tie it all in. From back in the day, where it used to take you a while to get things, you can get it like right now. You know what I mean? We have become a popcorn society, and I think streaming has went right along with that concept. They found a way where everything else we can get right now, so streaming needs to be the same way. And you can kind of see them evolve from, I would say, in my opinion, like the early 2010-ish up until date. It just started getting better and better and more user friendly for everybody, I would say. And as far as I go to the Netflix side, I'm not so much of a movie watcher, but a documentary that's my thing. So as far as like that is concerned, it's the same thing with music. I scroll through and it just click a button, and then you have all these series you can watch, and you can watch it on demand, and it's just very, very easy and very quick to get some information that you never know about or something to that effect. So that's as far as like streaming, I think that's the best thing, and I don't think it's going nowhere. And I actually think
Oh no, you're buffering.
I actually think honest. I'm good.
You're good now.
Now, yeah, you good now.
Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. I was gonna say I actually think that streaming, as far as like watching television, I give it about 5 years, and I actually think that it's like completely gonna take over. To be honest, that's my honest opinion. And this is from a guy that just cut his cable to go to a streaming streaming platform.
There it is.
So it's going to take over from you talking to somebody that just cut the cord not even 2 weeks ago. So it's going in that direction, and I don't think nothing is gonna be able to stop it.
Because it's like you said, the easy use, the interface of it. I mean, if you like, for example, Netflix, right?
Mm-hmm.
You watch one thing on Netflix, and then it gives you 10 other things that you like that's like the joint that you just watched.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's definitely not going anywhere.
It's not going nowhere.
No,
it's going to take over very soon.
Yeah, very soon. I agree that after the COVID thing happened these past 2 years, the trajectory of streaming has really flourished. Even though we had streaming before, because everyone was at home, they had to figure out how to entertain these people and basically how to gain a profit, because a lot of these television studios or even movie studios have shut down. So they were like, okay, we can't produce anything. So what can we do to make ourselves some money? And basically they just started putting out old shows and old movies and hope for the best. And
which is crazy. It's crazy because everybody started copying the Netflix platform.
Right.
If Disney Plus came out, then there was Paramount Plus,
HBO Max.
Like everybody started. Stars came out with one.
Right.
Got a streaming platform. DirecTV got a streaming platform now. Like you don't even have to have a satellite no more. You can just go with DirecTV stream, D-Stream they call it.
MTV has one now. Yeah.
Everybody Netflix.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, let's take a backseat for a moment. Let's go throughout history. First we have.
I was just about to go there.
Oh no, you can take over, Pierre.
I was just about to go. I was waiting for my turn.
Go
No,
ahead.
because I'm actually glad you mentioned that because, and especially from the perspective that I'm coming from, I'm someone who majored in business management with a focus in marketing. So we had to study how marketing works and how consumerism works so that we know how to sell the product to the client. And throughout all of time, consumerism needs convenience. That's a fact. That's the reason why something like, say, the automobile was a big thing, because instead of you having to walk to where you need to go or use carriages or having to take a train or the bus to wait to get from point A to point B, or well, actually not the bus, but the train or horse carriages, or having to just travel as far as walking, now you can go farther distances with just yourself or just you and your family without having to pay for as much. And so things need to keep started building around that, to where now you have different modes of transportations from, let's say, from city bus transits and so many other things that we have because of that. Same thing when it came with the Wright brothers creating, coming up with the idea of the airplane, to where now the number one way that we travel is by air because of the convenience of being able to go from one continent to the other without you having to be like, I'm stuck here, or I have to get on the boat to get from point A to point B and take 2 weeks to get there, when I can get there and like from here to say to the UK, I can get there in 12 hours, where if it was on boat, probably take like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So following that trend, when it comes to where we are with streaming, the number one thing that, like I said, the number one rule with sales of any kind is consumerism needs convenience. But on top of that, the convenience needs to meet the technology of that time. So because of the fact that the technology that we have now, from someone creating touch screen cell phones, to where it's touch screen laptops, touch screen televisions, and touch screen on your remote, to where you can just do so many things, or you can do it from your phone, then people start, because then the consumers, the one that's buying the items, are saying, well, what's the easiest way for me to get from point A to point B? So when COVID happened, it wasn't the fact that the market was like, hey, we want to watch brand new movies, but on a streaming platform. It was AMC movie theaters was shutting down. Regal Cinemas was shutting down. It was like, well, I want to watch a brand new movie. And then studios are like, man, we just paid all these actors, screenwriters, directors, everything you need. But it's like, we just paid them all in advance, but yet now we have no way to show it to them. So now there's like, so now Disney's like, well, then let's go ahead and create Disney Plus. That way you can watch these Marvel movies, you can watch Star Wars movies, you can see the new things that's coming out. And now, because of the fact that I can't get from point A to point B because of COVID restrictions, it could still be given to the consumer. And so if you think about, even like, say, in, of course, before all our time, but probably like in the 50s or 60s, it was a big deal to even have something like a microwave, because because instead of you having to bake something for 5 hours, a roast for 5 hours, you can do that, if you have it right, in way less time with the microwave. And so it's the same thing as far as with the technology we have, that now that everything's more digital based, like Drayce was the cable for yourself. And on my end, just for the convenience of, like, on Sunday, just for the convenience of me being able to watch football on multiple different games at the different times, I got it on YouTube TV. I didn't have to buy the NFL package and go to different ones. I didn't have to be subject to whatever area that I'm in. And I know that Drayce is a Dallas fan. So let's say, obviously, because we're in the state of Virginia, you're going to see Washington Redskins games happening more often. But depending on who Dallas is playing, it won't show. And so now, if you have something like, say, YouTube TV or any other, or maybe NFL ticket package or whatever that they have for streaming platforms, you have the convenience of watching what you want to watch. If you are an Arizona fan, you can watch that. If you're an LA Chargers fan, you can watch that. And so it's the same thing with when it comes to movies, games, you name it. It's the fact of, how can we get the product to the consumer in the most convenient way possible? And now that we have the technology to be able to bring it in people's homes, that's why we have what we have now. So yeah, You're absolutely right, Drayce. It's going to be taken over.
Definitely. I think like you were just saying, the COVID just hastened the process. It was always heading in that direction. I haven't had cable in like 3 years. I realized I don't watch enough TV to have cable. Like I don't watch enough of the stuff that they got coming on other than sports to have it. You know, like I think the next big thing, somebody's gonna make an app here soon where there's just nothing but sports, and that joint's gonna blow up. Like you can watch all your games, all your stuff like that. Somebody here soon is gonna make one, and I think that's gonna really blow.
Yeah, let's
I'll
not
be right on board.
us any ideas, okay? Because Disney pretty much owns a lot right now. They have their joint ownership of Hulu, and they've had that before Disney Plus. So just imagine their influence that they'll have. And they just bought Fox not too long ago in 2019. So now majority of content on Hulu is Disney.
I don't know if we will eventually go here, and if so, I will save the comment for later. But there's also some cons to that as well. It's not all positive, because think about absolutely today, as of this date, October 4th, 2021, Facebook went down, Instagram went down, WhatsApp went down.
Yeah,
people call people through the same type of electronic platforms to be able to have video chats like this, to be able to upload content, to be able to have Facebook Live, which is a streaming, or Instagram Live, or same thing with WhatsApp and so forth. The biggest issue with being a monopoly is if you go down, a lot of other things go down with it.
Sure.
So while that is cool that sure Disney can buy all these things, if something happens to the Disney Corporation, they go bankrupt, maybe some sort of scandal happens and everybody's like, you know what, bump Disney, we're going to protest them. You'll see how many things go down with it.
Yeah.
So that's also the con with that as well.
That's true.
That's true. That's the bad thing about cornering the market.
Yeah.
You the only one on the market.
Very true.
I mean, let's talk about the phenomenon of Netflix, because even though iTunes was one of the first companies to start streaming, but streaming in a sense that you have to pay for an episode of, I don't know, The Office, and it's just one episode, and that's how they became innovative. But Netflix started out as a DVD service, and then
I was about to say that. Yep.
They transition into streaming, but now Netflix is like the blueprint of what other streaming platforms have to look up to, because not many people are going to give up their Netflix if they can keep it, then they would. Simply the fact because Netflix has been innovative. And any one of y'all want to talk about that?
The simple fact somebody thought, they said, hey, I'm going to get entire series and release it, and people can just watch it right at home. The entire series now, multiple seasons, was genius. I don't know who came up with it.
Thank you.
But whoever did, that was genius. Because at first, we wasn't really messing with it because you could just order it. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like Blockbuster. You know what I'm saying? We still had Blockbuster and stuff back then, so we weren't really messing with it. Then they came out with the Red Box joint. And then somebody had the bright idea. Let's put it on the internet.
Yeah, I think that was, I believe I had just told my sister the other day that the reason I like not necessarily all streaming platforms, but Netflix specifically, was I don't watch documentaries when they're so-called popular. I don't. That's not what I do, because I don't like people swaying my opinion. Yeah. And as soon as something comes out, like the BMF, for instance, that just came out like last week, and I've seen so many posts on it, right? And or like Snowfall and stuff like that. I don't watch it then. I just happen to watch it and I get into it, and it could be 2 or 3 years down the line. I mean, that's how far sometimes this stuff go down the line before I actually watch the documentary or start watching the seasons and like form my own opinion. By that time, I could, that it would have worn off the whole way, where the masses would have commented on it, and then I go in and watch it and form my own opinion about a lot of docu-series and shows and stuff that, man, I'm really not a show guy, to be honest. I don't watch shows. That's not my thing. I'm a documentary type of guy. That's me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, I know as far as the innovation of Netflix, one of the so I remember what they did, which is before it was electronic. What they did was that you paid a subscription. This is what made them innovative, better than Blockbuster, better than Redbox, better than all of them. It used to be where if you paid them, I believe it was like $10 a month, they would send you a catalog with a bunch of movies. You can get like up to like 2 or 3. It would come in the mail. You can hold on to it for as long as you wanted. And as soon as you were done, you would put it back in the mail and order another one. And within like 2 days, they would pick it up and another set of movies would come to you. So it was like, instead of me having to pay $30 or $40 for maybe some movies I might or might not like you would have say Blockbuster or FYE or whatever the case may be, then at least then I won't feel as bad because I'm paying such a low amount.
right.
On top of that, what they did that was better than Redbox was, if any of y'all ever ordered Redbox, I'm sure you've gone through this, where you went to that 7-Eleven or wherever it was stationed at, and while it was cool to be able to touch screen, get the movies out, see it come out, all that stuff like that, they would tell you had to turn it back, in 30 days. Most people never returned it back in 30 days. And then because of that, you started getting, because it was like $1 a day or something like that.
Yeah.
So after like 30 days, if you didn't return it, they would charge you such a ridiculous amount of a late fee that then people would be like, what's the point of me turning this in? This movie's mine now. If I had to pay $60 because I forgot to turn it in, or I got lazy, or I lost the movie, so I couldn't really turn it in, then I got penalized. So with Netflix, it was like, if I wanted to, because I know there was a movie that you gave me, by the way, which I do need to return back to you, but I have it right here, War Room, that
Yeah.
if I got War Room on Netflix and I held on to it for 5 months, I wasn't penalized. And so that's why people started gravitating more towards Netflix. And then so they said, wait a minute, if we're getting this much amount of people, the problem is with the production of getting the licenses from the movies, coming up with the materials to have the case, the DVDs, all of that money we had to spend just to send it out, the carriers to send it out, the carriers to pick it up, the paper for the envelopes. I know it's detailed, but that's how much money that they're spending on just one movie that they have to send to you. It's like, why not cut out all of these middle people, put it on the platform? They still pay that $10 a month, but now, just like with the movies, I have access to it for as long as I want. And I'm not going to get extra fees or anything else like that. And that's how Netflix took over the market and cornered it. The issue is that other streaming platforms like get one over on the people, they would then, like Ramon was talking about, they would then only release one episode at a time if it was a series. But then people that had Netflix is like, yeah, I may not have that show only on Amazon, but I don't have to wait week after week waiting for an episode. And then if it's like a holiday weekend or something like that, gotta wait 2 weeks for the next episode. I can just go on Netflix and one other, now that we're now fast forward from 2020 to 2021, when now you see the HBO Maxes and things like that, is like, well, hey, if Netflix is doing that, why don't we do that? We have these licenses. Why give the licenses to Netflix to sell our products when we can make more of a profit by charging us $15 a month, $20, $30 a month? And we now have more access to the cool movies that they want. And now Netflix won't have them because we have the licenses. And that's why you probably have noticed maybe some of the shows that you used to like to watch on Netflix got pulled out because it's on Paramount Plus, it's on Disney Plus, it's on MTV, it's on HBO Max, it's on Stars and all these different things. And so they innovated the market, but the biggest thing about innovation is you always have to stay one step ahead. The moment that you get comfortable, somebody's going to come up with an idea that's going to usurp yours, and then from there you might get left behind. But for right now, the only one that's still currently doing it, Netflix, as far as releasing content, as well as original content that's good.
That's
Yeah,
what
they
that's what
started
say.
that.
That's the biggest thing. Like you see someone
That's
like
the biggest.
Dave Chappelle, who, if it wasn't for Netflix, real stuff, he would not be where he's at when everything happened with him in Comedy Central. So they're giving other actors or people that are just starting out or B-rated actors or whatever the case may be, a chance to get into everybody's homes. And because they're blowing up, Netflix is like, we're staying ahead of the game. So that's one of the things that they're doing that's still innovative. They're still coming out with a lot of creative content and helping out other actors and so forth. But
Yeah,
that's the innovation of Netflix. Yeah.
I think Netflix has come. I think that it's too little, too late for other. I think the other guys got here a little too late to overtake Netflix. And the only reason why I'm saying is just what you just mentioned in the statement there, P, was no, the original content, bro.
Yeah.
Like they paying big time actors for these original movies, man.
Yeah.
You know, like they're paying, like they've got them. Like you can take all this stuff and they're gonna be fine. Like they're not. I don't think you're gonna get rid of Netflix, bro. Like, I don't see it happening. I think Netflix is here to stay for the long haul. I think that's it. Because at the end of the day, all they're doing is imitating what they already seen Netflix do. Like, so Netflix has already mastered the market. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Everything else is just.
To further your point, I do agree. I think Netflix is not going to go anywhere, but I do think Disney has been in their pocket as of lately. The only reason why I say that is because Disney has this thing called the Vault, meaning that all the movies that they released and they own, they put in this vault to where no one can purchase it and no one can stream it on any other platform. But with this release in Disney Plus, now all those movies that were in the vault are now on Disney Plus. So now everyone is getting Disney just because they want to watch those particular movies. But I do agree that I don't see Paramount Plus going anywhere. They have The Office, I believe, on there, and that was their way of trying to get people to buy it. But I don't see that doing justice. And HBO Max, they were too confusing with their release. You know, who got to have HBO Max? You know, and stuff like that. What are you gonna say?
To counter that, Kendraya, I would like to ask this: what's gonna happen when a generation who don't watch those old movies go away?
Well, you also have Marvel.
So everything, you know what I'm saying? So everything that's in the vault eventually won't be watched. You know what I'm saying? So they'll have to keep creating new content. So I see where you see that as a plus, but I think that's a plus for the short term. I don't think that's a long term.
I agree completely, because one of the biggest flaws, I get why Disney's doing it, but one of the biggest flaws that those that are observing what Disney is doing recognizes is that, number one, they're really strict on mature content. They try not to show blood, people getting sliced up, things like that. Most of their movies, TV shows, stuff like that, that's number one. Number two, and hopefully it's not too much of a push here, but a lot of people feel as if they're really going the PC route. So because they're going so PC with it, that sure, maybe someone like yourself who grew up more into the PC culture versus us who saw what it was like before it was like that versus afterwards, we're like, nah, I don't really want that.
Right.
And so because of that, it may be in the short term, like Ramone's saying, in the short term, it might be good. But if I want to watch vampires, or if I want to watch zombie movies, or I want to see some content that is more reflective of my age, I'm not trying to see show tunes and animated people dancing around. Like that's just not what it is. And so that's the reason why he's saying, sure, for someone like yourself, you're like, yeah, and then Ramone and I are like, all right, if you say so.
Well, let me kind of argue with that. Hold on, let me kind of argue with that. So
I'd love to hear it.
Disney Plus is about to, well, let's say Disney as a whole is about to buy out Hulu. So all your gory stuff and all your stuff that you want to see as far as adults, that will be on Hulu, because they have things like Deadpool and stuff that's like gory, like the what was it called? The scary movies and stuff like that. That's all on Hulu. But I think the reason why Disney Plus launched the way they did and will be successful is because they're targeting parents. Because like Dre said earlier, cable
Correct.
is about to not be in existence. And because Disney now owns Fox, that means everything under Fox that owned previously, they own. So now we have to think about channels that are targeted for children and also channels that are targeted for adults. They spent over 70 billion, I want to say, on I believe 70 billion just on Fox alone, so they can expand their library, because you're right, their library is very PG, it is very kid oriented. But what about the content that Fox produced that they now own? Because now all that is definitely not targeted towards kids. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Now with that, here's exactly what happened with Disney Plus, and maybe they might change it, but this is as of today's date. I'm trying to remember what is the name of that movie, but I want to say it's a Disney movie. It's live action. It was basically like a woman who was a mermaid, and she came out of the water and then became a full human being.
Little Mermaid?
I can't. Not the Little Mermaid. It's live. It's a live movie. It's not an animated movie.
Okay.
But I can't remember the name of it. But nonetheless, when they did that, there was a scene that people were like, "Wait, I own the DVD. That scene isn't even there anymore." Where she comes out of the water. She's not. She's technically a mermaid, so she's nude, but it's not nude from the front. It's like they show just like her back and like the top of the butt cheek area.
Mm-hmm.
They took that scene out completely, because of the fact that they have kids watching. And so because of the fact that they might buy things from Fox, doesn't mean they're going to keep it that way to the original content, because there's a lot of things that even Disney movies, the animated stuff that we saw, that now that we're adults, we're like, oh, this kind of was some grown-up stuff, but we were kids, so we missed it. They edited a lot of those scenes. Yeah. They edited a lot of it. And so while they might buy something like, say, Hulu and Fox and so forth, they also now have the rights to say what we're going to show, what we're not. And then so for those that are true fans of said media will be like, that's not how it went down. So if you're watching something like Deadpool, they might start bleeping some stuff out here and there and so on and so forth. Or they might probably, I don't know, instead of doing a scene where you probably see someone's head gets completely decapitated and slicing off, they might just do a scene where he just does this and then pan in the next scene.
Yeah.
And so then, so that's why it's like, yeah, that's cool that y'all might buy and you spend all that money, but it doesn't mean you're going to be true to the original content, because they've done it multiple times where they've changed it up because of the fact that they're really big towards being politically correct on everything. If you watch it, even watch stuff like Marvel's What If, great series, by the way. I saw the whole thing, amazing. But you can see where they put a lot of the PC stuff to be like, okay, we want to bring in more inclusivity. We want to make sure that everybody's cool. All boxes are checked. That's fine. But then, depending on what you're putting out there, might be where, like with what was that movie? Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. That was one of the most PC Marvel movies put out there, and it tanked badly because they tried so hard to be like, okay, we want to make it more. Yeah, they wanted to make it more like how it was, unlike how it was before. Let's make it more current, more up to date, and it flopped. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good conversation. I agree on certain things. It's just that where do we put that content? That's why we have stuff like Netflix and stuff like that. I think
exactly.
I don't think Netflix.
That's why Netflix isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think Netflix is going anywhere, but I do think that some of this type of content will have to go somewhere, because if cable is not going to be in existence, then something has to put, in that area in order for it to make sense. Because I don't see a decline in Netflix, but I don't see a lot more people talking about Netflix. They're talking about other things. you know, like as far as original content and stuff like that.
Drayce, you had something, man? I don't want to keep talking over you. You didn't get a chance to say nothing, bro.
Oh no, is it as far well as far as the Netflix going somewhere? I don't see it going anywhere per se, but it's like anything else. Once you start adding, if it's only for, I'm gonna give you an example. If it's only one restaurant and you stay in a small town, no matter how good the food is, if they add 4 more restaurants, they're gonna be people that spread out.
True.
A little bit, and it's gonna take a hit. That doesn't matter that the food went down in the main restaurant you had first. It's just that people are gonna venture out because people want to see. And then they do a lot of introductory rates when you come in. Buy 1 month, get 2 months free, or they do all these. So people are gonna venture out to see what they like. That's just human nature. Doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna fall off personally. It's just that. Like you said, I mean, the market, in my opinion, is starting to be saturated. Doesn't mean it's all good or all bad, but that's something you have to let people figure out on their own. That's just the way it is.
100.
That's the market in general with anything.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. And I oh, go ahead, Ramone. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, like you said, Pierre, I don't see where. I think here's what I say. I think that if they end up buying Disney now falls under the Disney umbrella. You have to follow Disney's rules.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? So I don't think they're going to be able to keep their originality that they once had because now they're up under Disney. And the same thing will go for Fox. The same thing will go for anything else that Disney buys. Now you're under their umbrella. Now you have to do it. What we say. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because right now Hulu is owned by majority by Disney and Comcast. Comcast is, I believe, is 38%. So
yeah, they're gonna lose a lot just because it's like Pierre and we live in the PC generation now. I mean, so everything's got to be, check all boxes.
Yeah.
Well, is there any last thoughts or anything anyone else wants to say?
Well, I'll definitely say this is that another reason why I also agree with why Drayce said that Hulu isn't going to go anywhere, and I also want to even add on top of that it shouldn't go anywhere, is because as long as there's competition, it's always good for the buyers. It's always good for the consumer. Like what Drayce was talking about in the example, as long as there's multiple people, if I want to draw someone in, I can go ahead and say, hey, if y'all want Netflix, first 2 months are free. And then from there, you're only going to pay $15.99 a month. Whereas if you get the Disney Plus people, they're charging you $30 a month. But if Disney owns everything, they can then dictate the market as far as how much they want to charge. Because now that we have all the streaming platforms, now that everybody's used to streaming instead of going to movie theaters, or watching cable and all this other stuff like that, and we bankrupt all these people. Now we can say, you know what? Instead of $50, let's go ahead. Instead of $30, let's make it $50. Let's make it $70. We own so many things. Why not? Yeah. And then from there, what ends up happening is when you monopolize, you then get to dictate how much you charge the consumers. And for the most part, the consumers have no choice but to abide by it. But as long as there's competition, they will only go but so much. So either A, they have to come up with better content to state why you're paying what you're paying as far as the value is concerned, or B, here's some of these incentives and deals where I remember with Xbox Series X, where they were like, if you buy an Xbox Series X and you get Game Pass, for the first 6 months, you get Disney Plus for free. So where you can do those type of things. Let Disney go ahead and buy it all out. You won't see those incentives anymore because there's no need to. Remember, the job of any corporation is to make money. They're not going to make money if they're giving you deals. They're giving you deals because you'll then, just like Drayce talked about, come to their restaurant, you'll eat our food. Then when you're used to eating our food, then those, I don't know, $2-3 chili dogs that we used to sell, now we're going to make those chili dogs $5. Now we're going to make it $10. Now we're gonna make it 15 because there's nobody else selling chili dogs anymore. And now you're like, man. And matter of fact, that's what we've seen happen with, say, like Walmart, where one of the biggest things, remember what Walmart was best known for when it first came out was slashing prices. You see the numbers coming down, everything else like that. Now that they've been buying out, like they're setting up in every single corner, and places like Kmart and all these other places shut down because of them. Local supermarkets shut down because of them. Now they can say, you know what? Yeah, we might give y'all a deal, but for the most part, now we're going to charge y'all regular price, or we'll give you a sale, but it's going to be lower quality products.
Right. Right.
So, like I said, there's the pros and the cons as far as streaming is concerned. But when you're talking about monopolies, that's one of the cons of monopolies.
I think that they play a dangerous game too, because I think that they're going to roll so much that they up the prices and they'll keep upping them, and people are going to be like, yo, I left cable because of these type of prices. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think dangerous game to play. You know, like if I start seeing $100 a month subscription, well, why would I need to leave?
I'm good, man.
Right.
No, I was gonna end this, but you guys make up a good point. Like, how would this money revenue go to these different companies or corporations? How are they going to pay these actors? Because there's an issue with streaming music. If you stream music, the artists themselves or even the label itself will only get a cent of it, or not even a cent, less than a cent of you listening to that song maybe 5 times. So the issue of streaming has gone to like, okay, how do I measure sales of streaming? How do I measure box office? How do I measure this? Because these actors, these musicians, these labels are not getting enough money for what we essentially are listening to or watching all the time.
Right. I think a lot of that had to do with iTunes being the first one to it, right? So like on the music tip, at least anyway, it was iTunes first, then Tidal and all that stuff came out. They got a chance to set the market, you know what I'm saying, however they want it, because they grew so fast to where like everybody knows iTunes. A lot of artists don't have any choice but to try to get out there if you want your stuff to get heard. You know what I'm saying? So they pay the money and then make less because it has a bigger target audience than Pandora or then Tidal. You know what I mean?
Right.
So well, there's a way that you actually can pay all of that off, and it's the thing that people hate the most: ads. That's how they do it. That's how they do it. So if I put my music on, say, iTunes or Spotify or whatever like that, like you said, they probably get 1 cent per every time that it's played. But what is following afterwards, as far as maybe 4 or 5 songs later, an advertisement for the next 30 seconds, because the advertisement companies still want you to buy their product. So it's like, while you're here and you're watching this, if you think of like the Super Bowl, for example, now you're here, you're all watching this, here's our product, and all of a sudden people are going to go ahead and get the product. I remember in the Hampton Roads area, one of the biggest jumps in sale, believe it or not, was during the Super Bowl, where Mike Tyson was on Michael and Sons commercial. And of course, he has a lisp and everything else like that, but because of how funny he sounded, Michaels and Sons became like a regional company, like in like the Hampton Roads area, to where throughout the whole state now, because that, and it was just like, if you can't do it, we can, Michaels and Sons. And it was like, that sounded funny as heck. I see how y'all laughing, but that's how he was doing it. And then because of that, Michaels and Sons got like millions of dollars, and now they're throughout the whole state, and then hopefully try to become something that's a national chain over time.
Right.
Ads is how they do it. And the ads company will say, okay, we will pay the difference to the artist as long as we can put our advertisements there. And then this is how they get the consumer. Hey, consumer, are you tired of hearing ads? First, they force it on you. Are you tired of hearing ads? Pay an extra $5.99 a month, an extra $10 a month. And then you can go ahead and be ad-free, and you can listen to all the music you want. No interruptions. And that money that we're paying for the ad-free stuff, that's how they go ahead and pay everybody else the difference.
And by the way, American Eagle has jeans sale for $30.
Right.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you.
I mean, that's
They'll
how
say-
you get you. But recently they were saying that with this whole thing with Taylor Swift refused to put her music out on streaming platforms because she wanted to advocate for other artists because she's this big pop artist and she doesn't necessarily need the money, but all these other local artists need it. What the issue is that yes, they have these ads and they're like, yes, pay to not get these ads, but companies like Spotify are just like, well, I'm gonna take a huge chunk of that, even though you already getting this huge chunk of money anyway. I'm gonna take a huge chunk of money, and now this artist is just like, okay, well, I'm broke as broke can be, But I don't know, that thing as far as music is concerned has to change, because if we're all gonna be streaming, then something has to give.
The thing that's going to have to give is not the money that's coming out of our pockets. It's not the executives that are in charge of these companies like iTunes with Apple and so forth. The one that's going to take the hit are the artists and content creators, because money talks and the rest walks. At the end of the day, no matter what Taylor Swift says, something's better than nothing. And the biggest example that I can think of was with LeBron James when the COVID thing was just happening. Remember what they said? Hey, man, if they go ahead and start having basketball games and nobody's in there, are you going to play? Nah, man, F that. I ain't going to do that because, it's about the fans. It's about the energy. It's about all of this.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, tell me, did he stop playing basketball? No, because of the fact that at the end of the day, if he stopped playing basketball, he would have gotten less from fans and then also get paid autographs and pictures that they get money for and wearing the shoes and handing out jerseys, stuff like that. Yes, he might lose out on that, but if he stops playing altogether, he gets $0. So it's like, I might take a hit, might get less, but less is still better than nothing. Yeah, so that's how that's going to go.
Taylor Swift has recently released her music on Spotify. So her argument was I get it, but it is what it is. You have to get your music out there. If your fans want to listen to your songs, they want to listen to your songs. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to interview you guys. This was really fun. We should do this again, but probably not for an assignment. I'm gonna have to try to narrow this down to 5 to 7 minutes, but I'm gonna just ask my professor to just upload the whole thing. But thank you so much. This was very entertaining.
Yep, absolutely.
All right,
have a good one.